Hey, it's me again. If you haven't seen me on Marty's channel before, which now seems implausible, my name is Chris and I was Marty's guitar teacher. I taught Marty how to play. So he invited me back to do some of the same lessons we went over when he was learning how to play. Now, the very last video I did here on this channel was about building any chord, like taking a regular major chord and being able to just change one or two of the notes to turn it into a minor chord, or a diminished chord, or an augmented chord, or a suspended second chord. Like, we went through a lot of cool stuff. But the idea there was that you have one tool and one chord, and you can change it into anything you want. So we got some great comments on that video, and one of them was, can you do this with scales? And the answer, of course, is yes. So I'm going to give you that tool today. We're going to be taking one scale, the major scale, and we're just going to be changing one or two or three notes in it to turn it into any scale we want to. And here's why we're doing that. There are thousands of scales. I don't know about you, but I don't want to learn 1,000 scales. But I do want the ability to learn any scale. Here's an example. I'm a big Peter Frampton fan. Turns out Peter Frampton uses the Dorian mode all the time. How am I going to figure out the Dorian mode, right? I need a tool to be able to figure out that scale. I don't want to have to learn 1,000 scales to then pick out the Dorian mode. I just want a tool by which I can learn any scale I want to learn. It's a better use of my time, far more efficient. So we're going to zoom in, we're going to map the major scale onto the neck, and then we're just going to alter some of the notes to turn it into any scale we want, right? Pretty cool. Let's zoom in and I'll show you how it works. Okay, learning any scale. Much more efficient use of your time than learning every scale is to be able to have a tool by which you can learn any scale you need. The first thing we're going to do is put down the major scale, because the major scale is the ruler of all things. Everything we ever learn in music theory is based on the major scale. We're going to be using the A major scale. Here it is. Here are the fret numbers for the major scale. This is A major scale, starting on the 5th fret on the E string. The fret numbers are 5, 7, 9 on the E string, 5, 7, 9 on the A string, and 6, 7 on the D string. That's our major scale. That's the ruler of all things, right? So now that we've got the frets down, what we're going to do is just number these notes in the scale sequentially, starting with the root, which is A. Here is the major scale formula. Root, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and we're back to the root. That is the major scale's formula. Root, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, root. Now, the way we're going to do this to learn the other scales is we're going to take this major scale formula and we're just going to start altering some of the notes according to the new scale's formula. So these notes are all the notes for the major scale. But let's say another scale has a different note, maybe a different 4 or a different 7. We're going to either be using sharp or flat. Flat means we reduce the pitch. We take it down the neck by a half step. Sharp means we raise the pitch. So let me give you a perfect example. We'll wipe out the major scale. I'm going to reach into the bucket of a billion scales and I'm going to throw down Lydian. Here's the Lydian scale. As you can see, all the numbers are the same, but the 4 is sharp. So when we get to that 4th note in the scale, we're just going to scoot it up a half step. Here's how it works. Root, 2, 3, here's 4. We're just going to scoot it up, right? There's sharp 4, 5, 6, 7, root. And just for grins, listen to the difference between that and the major scale. Here's Lydian. That sharp 4 is what gives Lydian its sort of personality. So as you can see, we used the major scale, we just changed one note. I'm going to reach back into the bucket of scales, I'm going to throw out Mixolydian. Here's the formula for Mixolydian. Same as the major scale, it just has a flat 7. When we get to the 7 note, we're just going to flat it. We're going to take it down a half step. Root, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, here's our 7. We're just going to flat it. There's Mixolydian. Just has a flat 7. Okay, so you can see how this is working, right? All right, now I'm going to reach in the box and I'm going to grab out a scale that has two different variations, 2 alterations, and that scale is harmonic minor. Here is the formula for harmonic minor. As you can see, it's the same as the major scale. It just has a flat 3 and a flat 6. So let's give that a shot. 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6, 7, 1. Listen to this scale. That's a pretty cool sounding scale. Maybe you didn't know harmonic minor before, and maybe it was just in those bucket of 1,000 scales that you had to learn. We just put the formula down here, took our major scale and changed it into harmonic minor. Every single scale you ever come across has a formula, and you can use the major scale to change it into that scale by altering the notes that are in the new formula. Now maybe you don't know any of these scales, and you just know the pentatonic scale. Let's just see if that works. Okay, we're going to plug the pentatonic scale formula in. I'm going to grab it out of here. Here is the minor pentatonic scale formula. Root, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7. Let's give it a shot. Root, skip that 2, flat 3, 4 and 5 stay the same. Skip the 6, go to flat 7, and then the root again. And there it is. This should look very familiar. This system works even if the scale doesn't have 7 notes. It still works because all these numbers are related to the major scale. Got it? Pretty cool. How about the blues scale? Here is the formula for the blues scale. Root, flat 3, 4, flat 5, 5, flat 7. Let's give it a shot. Here's the root. Skip the 2, hit the flat 3. 4 is the same. Flat 5 is the 5 down a half step. And the regular 5. Flat 7. And then we're done. It works even with a 6-note scale. Well, that's pretty cool. How about the major pentatonic scale? Here's the formula for the major pentatonic scale. Root, 2, 3, 5, 6. Root, 2, 3. It's all the same. Skip the 4, hit the 5, 6. Leave the 7 out. There's the major pentatonic scale. This system works with any scale formula you will ever run across. Just find the formula, plug it in, get your major scale down, alter those notes. Remember, flat goes down by a half step, sharp goes up by a half step. You can learn any scale you ever come across using this method. Okay, there it is. Not rocket science. You got to be able to map the major scale, right? The major scale turns out to be sort of the DNA of everything. All music theory is based around the major scale. So you need to map that on there. And then you just need to be able to count to 7 and alter those notes, right? And understand the difference between flat going down in pitch and sharp coming up in pitch. And boom, now you have a tool by which you can learn any scale you want. Far more efficient use of your time than learning the thousands of scales that do exist. I hope this has been interesting. I hope this piques your curiosity. And one more final thing. You may be having like a mind-blown light bulb moment now. I'm so happy. That's why I'm doing this. If you're on the other side of that coin and you're like, I don't understand anything he just said. That's all chicken scratch. I don't know what's going on. The only difference between not knowing what it is and having that aha moment, light bulbs like, oh, you're kidding me, like being inspired, the only thing that's in that distance between you and that is time and effort. That's it. Time and effort to put the scale on the neck. Go find a formula, write it down with one of these, change the scale. Boom. Instant knowledge, right? Time and effort. Marty, thanks so much for having me back. I really appreciate it. Anytime I get to get in front of your crew is fantastic. I love the opportunity and I thank you. To everybody else, I hope you found this interesting. I hope it gets you moving in a specific direction, and I'll see you next time.